Hello everyone, I am Laura Westwood and I am the librarian for the Maryland Historical Trust. Today I will be giving you a brief overview of the MHT Library, some of the collection highlights, and a look into the future of the library. Here is my contact information. Currently I am primarily teleworking due to COVID-19 office restrictions, so email is the quickest way to get in touch with me. If you have any questions about visiting our library, collection material, or tracking down resources, please feel free to contact me. If I can't find the answers to your questions in our collection, I'd be happy to direct you to another library, archive, or institution that might be able to help. Just a quick introduction about me. I began working at MHT in November of 2018 after the retirement of the longtime librarian Mary Louise DeSarin. I came to MHT with what I think is a pretty good working knowledge of the state's history, significant figures, and important buildings, and am well versed in the research resources available across the state. I'm always looking to learn more, and am currently learning a great deal about the architectural and archaeological history of the state as I work through the collection material in our library. And I'm always happy and excited to help other people track down resources for their projects. Here are some helpful links for you to save. They are links to our website, library catalog, MEDUSA, which is our cultural resource information database, and the Archaeological Synthesis Project. I will talk a little bit more about MEDUSA and what you can find there, as well as the Archaeological Synthesis Project in a few minutes. These are both fantastic resources for anyone interested in historic structures or archaeological sites in the state. So a little bit about our library. We are located in Crownsville, Maryland, and are open to the public by appointment Tuesday through Thursday. If you'd like to schedule an appointment, please contact me via phone or email, and I'll be happy to set that up. Right now, unfortunately, we are still dealing with restrictions due to COVID-19, and our lovely reading room, which is pictured here, is closed for the time being. In the meantime, I'm happy to help in any way I can virtually, over the phone or through email, and may be able to send digital copies of our materials to help you with your research. Please check the website for updates about reopening. I like to think of our collection as small but mighty. We are geared towards Maryland history and culture, architectural history and archaeology, as well as other topics related to that subject. We have over 5,000 books and subscribe to several industry publications, professional journals, and popular magazines. In some cases, we have nearly 30 years of back issues of these journals. All of this is available in our reading room. Beyond the journals and books, the library also serves as a repository for MHT. This means that the library collects unique material, such as resources related to research done by our staff, and reports and other material funded by our grant programs. This includes resources like historic structures reports, field and research reports, architectural drawings, photographs and slides, archaeological compliance documentation, vertical files, and more. So by the numbers, the library contains over 100,000 slides and negatives, over 5,000 archaeological compliance reports, and over 100 architectural drawings. The variety of this material really does showcase the work done by MHT and provides valuable information to researchers that you might not be able to find elsewhere. I've also created a library user guide that is available on our website. The library user guide includes all the information about our library, visiting our library, and the library collections, as well as all of the links I'm going to talk about here today. So if you missed a link, don't worry, it's available through this library user guide. I've also created some resource guides to collection material in the library. The topics that I've created resource guides so far include African American history and culture, the civil rights movement, segregation and slavery, and historic preservation at home. These resource guides compile books and journals, as well as other resources available across the state to help guide your research. These are overviews to what we have available in our library and can point you to some other resources that will help you out. For example, with the historic preservation at home, I created this in light of all of the closures of libraries and archives and other institutions due to the coronavirus pandemic. This list includes some of the classic books on historic preservation, social media accounts about historic preservation and architectural history that the MHT staff follow and find educational. Also, some other useful podcasts and websites that would give you some information on historic preservation that might help you continue your research despite being stuck at home. You can also check out the MHT blog, which is linked on our website, for what's going on at MHT, information about available grants and funding, and topics of interest about archaeology and architecture. We have some really great pieces posted that I recommend you check out. Despite all of our wonderful collection material, I don't think that people outside of the historic preservation and archaeology communities know much about our library. Despite nearly 100 in-person visits in 2019, I'm always trying to share the news that there is indeed a library that is open to the public at the Maryland Historical Trust. I think researchers interested in Maryland history, culture, genealogy, and family research, and more can find something of interest in our library. When starting your research at the MHT Library, I always recommend that you start with the library catalog, and here is the URL that is available on our website as well. In the library catalog, you will find entries for our published material, as well as some of the more unique material, including our gray literature. This gray literature includes some of the archaeological and architectural research reports that I referred to earlier. This can be reports such as in-depth histories of structures, dendrochronology research, and paint analysis. We currently share our library catalog with the library at the Jefferson Patterson Park and Museum. The collection at JPPM is geared towards archaeological research, but is a great resource for Southern Maryland and is located in St. Leonard's and Calvert County. When researching, make sure you take note of where the item you're interested in is located. Another great online resource that is available through our website is MEDUSA, which is our Cultural Resource Information System database. This database contains information about all the properties in Maryland that are listed on the Maryland Inventory of Historic Properties and the National Register of Historic Places. We also refer to the Maryland Inventory of Historic Properties as the MIHP. You can also find information about historic markers, the boundaries of heritage areas, and archaeological sites on MEDUSA. There are several ways to search our database, including by using the MIHP number, if you know it, the address of the property you're interested in, or you can use the map. There are several tutorials on the homepage that can show you how to navigate MEDUSA so that you can find the information you're looking for. You will not need to create a login to access architectural resources in the database. However, to access archaeological data, you will need to apply for access due to confidentiality measures associated with archaeological sites. So if you are interested in a property that is listed on the MIHP or the National Register, when you search that property, what you will get is a database record that includes a link to our scanned inventory form, which includes the history of the property, information about the architecture of the property, as well as any photographs that were taken during the survey. So here's a slide just summing up the information about MEDUSA. The Archaeological Synthesis Project is another great online resource created by our staff. This is the URL that you can use to visit that site. This is a searchable database of archaeological sites in Maryland. The database has both professional and public access available, but for this presentation, I'll just be talking about the public access. So if you've ever been curious about archaeology and digs across the state, this is a great place to check it out. On the database, you'll learn more about the history of a site or the history of the archaeological activities that have occurred at the site, including information about excavations and artifacts. And now I will talk a little bit more about our collection in depth and go over some of the material available in our library and highlight some collection items. One of my favorite collections, the architectural drawings, is in the process of being inventoried. We have over 100 drawings, primarily of properties on the Maryland Inventory of Historic Properties, but there are also some others that have been sent to us over the years or that we have collected. These drawings were created by MHT staff and consultants, or by Colonial Williamsburg, or for the Historic American Buildings Project. You will find some of these drawings are listed in the library catalog, but not all of them are. So if you're interested in finding out if we have a drawing of a property that you're interested in, please contact me and I will take a look. This is a collection that I'm looking to expand, especially with historic architectural plans and drawings, because these are valuable research resources and they often get overlooked or thrown away and are not widely collected. Another fantastic collection we have at the MHT Library is the slide and photograph collection. Here you'll see just two examples of some of the wonderful photographs that we have. Over 100,000 images have been taken by our staff and consultants to document historic buildings and structures in Maryland. Most of these images are relatively modern, dating back to the 1960s or 70s, but there are some historic photographs in the collection. This is a great collection because it often captures buildings that are no longer standing, that were lost to development or decay, or greatly changed over the years. Some of our photograph collection can be seen in the Maryland Inventory of Historic Properties forms that are posted in MEDUSA, but we are currently working on cataloging and scanning these images to share with the public. However, this is a very long-term project due to the size of the collection. The library also has the collection of the late Orlando Rideout V. Rideout was a long-time MHT employee and led the research and survey group. His work on architectural survey revolutionized how this research was done in Maryland. The collection, which MHT received in 2013, includes notes and slides for the architectural history courses he taught, and research notes from his work on the 1798 federal direct tax, Queen Anne's County, and agricultural buildings. There are approximately 20,000 slides in the collection, with images from all over Maryland as well as the United States and England. Rideout documented buildings all over the US and England in his travels, and he created a fantastic library of images of American building types, particularly of those from the colonial and antebellum period. I'm currently working on creating a finding aid for the collection, and this will be available on our website in the future. Rideout also left the library a large collection of books, which include some rare and vintage titles related to Maryland history in the Mid-Atlantic, as well as architectural history. Another great resource curated by the MHT Library for researchers is the vertical files. We have thousands of files on buildings and historic districts across the state. Many of these files are for properties listed on the MIHP, but there are some that have not been listed. Over the years, we have received information from staff or collected by independent researchers, homeowners, or in the course of other projects. These files contain a variety of material, including newspaper clippings, promotional materials such as brochures, and correspondence. Sometimes the resources in these files expand upon the reports created for the Maryland Inventory of Historic Properties available on MEDUSA. For example, in the photograph on the slide, I have pulled the file on the Hampton National Historic Site. This is a large file that included a copy of a reference to the property in the Congressional Record, some magazine articles about the interior of the property and the historic nature, as well as promotional materials most likely picked up on a visit to the site, as well as extensive correspondence related to the site's listing on the National Register, work completed on the property, and more. I am working on a complete inventory of all the files available, but a partial list with several counties is available on the website through the library webpage. These files are organized by property name or historic district and can be searched by MIHP number, address, or property name. In this slide, I've included a photo of some of the published records of our oral history projects completed in affiliation with MHT. In the past, MHT ran the Maryland Folklife program before it was moved to the Maryland State Arts Council. We also provided grant funding for many other community oral history projects over the years. In the library, we have the recordings, transcripts, and photographs related to these various oral history projects, which include Minding Our Own Business, an oral history of North Brentwood's entrepreneurs, which interviewed business owners in Prince George's County's oldest incorporated African American community, as well as Maryland Lighthouses of the Chesapeake Bay, which interviews lighthouse keepers about their experiences, and also a study of the Smith Island dialect. For a complete listing of all the oral histories available in our library, please check the library webpage. And finally, onto our books, journals, and great literature. Our collection focuses on Maryland history and culture, architectural history, archaeology, and other related topics. I'm always looking to add new titles to our library and keep an eye out for newly published books on relative topics or to fill gaps in our collection. We have also received copies of dissertations and theses from students over the years, particularly from the 1970s and 80s. Sometimes these reports can be difficult to track down in university libraries, so this is a really great resource that we have that can sometimes be hard to find. And like I said before, we also have an extensive collection of journals and magazines. The library also collects great literature about historic places and archaeological sites. This includes historic structure reports, historic context studies, architectural surveys, conservation reports, as well as paint analysis and dendrochronology reports. These reports are often unique to our library as they were created with grant funding from MHT, donated by our consultants, or completed by the MHT staff. The MHT Library is also the repository for archaeological compliance reports and site reports. These are primarily restricted to those who work in the field of archaeology due to concerns about site confidentiality. However, if you encounter a report that would be helpful for your research but can't access, we can take a look at it and sometimes provide access to specific information. We do not lend our books outside of the library, but we do allow photocopying and photographing of the collection. So that wraps up our brief tour of the library collection. As for future plans for the library, I plan to complete inventories of the uncatalogued material to make our collections more accessible, and we hope down the road to provide much more digital access to materials. There's so much research value in our collections, and we want to make sure that it's available to everyone. Thank you for listening to my presentation, and please do not hesitate to reach out with any questions or to learn more about the library resources. Thank you.